my PlayStation 2, you turn 15 years old, and holy shit, that makes me feel really old when I say it out loud like that. 15 years old. The PlayStation 2 brand. As a matter of fact, it wasn't all that long ago that the PlayStation 2 finally ceased production and the last few games had rolled out. It was amazing that it went on for as long as it did, over 10 years. Like, that's mind-boggling. Most systems can only dream of going on for that long, and there's only a handful of systems that have done that. It's the best-selling console of all time, even beat out the likes of the Nintendo DS and the Game Boy. That's a fucking feat. And when it first launched, I mean, that shit was... There was people everywhere losing their fucking minds just to be able to pick up a PlayStation 2. And it, you know, for the time, it made a lot of sense. It was a PlayStation 1, it was a PlayStation 2, it played CDs, and it was a DVD player, which DVD players were something everybody was slowly going and transitioning from VHS into DVD. And bam, and the games just... There was such a big leap between what we had seen on PlayStation, Nintendo 64, and Sega Saturn to PlayStation 2. Now, not quite as big of a gap between Dreamcast and PS2, but still, it was a big deal for a lot of us, and anybody who was already well invested into the PlayStation library didn't really have to worry about it because this played all your games. Backwards compatibility! And for a lot of people, that was one of the very first times that they had ever been accustomed to backwards compatibility within gaming. Now it's something that we kind of take for granted. Except for this generation, because Xbox One and PS4 won't play the last generations, which kind of fucking sucks. That's why you always hold on to your old school shit. But right here, I have a big ass stack of games which mean a bunch to me as far as like the PlayStation 2 in general. And I know that somebody's gonna be like, oh, you left out this, you left out that. No shit, Sherlock. There's only 8 gajillion fucking games for the PS2. Its library is like fucking insane. As a matter of fact, out of all my, like, I have a ton of games. This entire room is nothing but games. The fucking shelf that this camera is sitting on is nothing but games. It's fucking ridiculous. But my biggest game system collection, as far as one console is concerned, is PlayStation 2, which I got all the games sitting over there. And it's pretty huge, and it's, I mean, all the games I have for it, I started collecting a couple years before the PlayStation 2 came out, so I have all my original games from it, and a whole bunch that I'm still picking up today. As a matter of fact, I ended up picking up State of Emergency for $1, just like a week ago or something. It was $1. It's not the most perfect game, but still. But a lot of my most favorite franchises from past generations continued on it, and all franchises that had started up during that generation. I mean, it's a fantastic system. So, I'm gonna go and start with the very first 2 games that I got for the system, because I couldn't afford system at the time. I wanted a PlayStation 2, but, you know, I didn't have enough money for it. I was working a minimum wage paying job, and I had a friend who worked at a game store, which later on I ended up becoming an assistant manager of the store. But he had bought in a PlayStation 2 and some games, memory cards, and all that jazz, and I ended up buying it from him for what he took it in for. So he didn't make no money off of it, but he didn't really care because he just wanted to make sure I got a PS2 into my hands. And the first 2 games I got are right here, my original copies, no less. Final Fantasy X, or Final Fantasy X, but, you know, it's 10th fucking installment. And Grand Theft Auto 3. Both of these games blew my fucking socks off, blew my fucking balls off. I was ballless and sockless and amazed and still had like an absolute fucking gaming erection from playing these games, especially Grand Theft Auto 3. This was a groundbreaking title in a lot of ways because this was, for a lot of people, the biggest and first sandbox game that they had gotten to play, where you just run around, do anything, do everything, and it was fun. And, I mean, the original Grand Theft Auto games, Grand Theft Auto 2, and then GTA London, those games were the shit, and they were fucking cool as hell, but this is when the series became what it is today. Now we're playing Grand Theft Auto 5, we're playing things like Saints Row, we're playing things like Sleeping Dogs, and there's tons of other games out there that have taken up this style of gameplay, but this was the first motherfucker to do it. And it still holds up. You can still play this on mobile, on Steam. You can go get the original on PlayStation 2 and stuff. They also have for Xbox. I like it on Xbox because you have custom soundtracks, so that's always cool. Just, I'm like, alright, time for Napalm Death. And I'm going to listen to that while I'm driving around. I'm like, yeah, okay, now we're going to switch over to DS. Like, yeah, this is so fantastic. You know, oh, making a jump while listening to Torture Killer. Woo! So, always good times, but I like the game a whole bunch. I put in over 100 hours on this game. Over 100 fucking hours of gameplay time. That's saying something. Final Fantasy X, considering that I'm a longtime RPG fan, Final Fantasy fan, Squaresoft fan, which look, it was still Squaresoft before they ended up turning into Square Enix, but I was just absolutely stoked in all sorts of ways. Seeing all the magazine scans, you know, of all the different locations, of all the characters, and in Japanese text and shit. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that says at all. You know, that looks like moon language. Thank you, GameSack, for fucking getting me hooked on saying that. But get my hands on it. Seen the adventures of Tidus, Auron, Yuna, Lulu, Waka, and the like, you know, Riku, who everybody had a fucking hard-on for. I was a guy who always liked Lulu, I'm sorry, but fucking a gothic little black mage with titties for days? Goddamn straight I'm all for that, fucking hot as hell. But good-ass game, the grid system, you know, is still turn-based. I actually prefer turn-based combat system. Don't fucking shoot me, I can have my preferences, but really kick-ass game and stuff. Can't say that I was a big fan of its direct sequel, but still, I was pretty happy to have both of these games right out the stretch, because those were some of the most sought-after games at the time, like must-have titles, and those were my first two, and it was very cool. These three I have lumped together just because it was a very big deal, since platforming games are one of my favorite genres. Three of the platforming games that made up the PlayStation 2 library both went into trilogies, all three got to go into trilogies. And first one, Sly Cooper. Sly Cooper I always liked because you were actually sneaking around, and the sneaking mechanics weren't like super Metal Gear style type shit, but it was still cool to see something like that where you're just running around over the rooftops and shit, stealing stuff, trying to go and find all these secrets, and then beating the fuck out of a ton of enemies. I still remember the very last battle with Clockwork, where you're skiing down all over this shit and jumping out of the way of stuff, and then it's like, oh my god, the lava's coming up. Oh, it was just very cool. Liked the game a whole bunch. So yeah, that. Jak and Daxter. Ratchet and Clank. I kind of put these two together, especially with Jak and Daxter, with the second game, which I thought was a lot more akin to how the Ratchet and Clank games are, but platforming and shooting guns and shit, getting a bunch of weaponry, and these games had well, actually Sly Cooper too, they had done a good job of showcasing, like, kind of a Disney Pixar type story that you could have within a video game, and that's what they remind me of. And I always thought that the transition for those into movies would work really well, which we do have that happening now, you know, in I think this year, as a matter of fact. It's this year or next year, but we're going to see movies of some of those. And rumor is, rumor is we're going to be getting another Jak and Daxter game. I really hope so. We've seen a ton more Ratchet and Clank games, but this was the very start of it. I think that the games got a lot better as they progressed with both games, as a matter of no, fuck it. All three games got a lot better as they progressed. If you played the later titles that ended up showing up on PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3, then you know damn well that they became amazing franchises. Just, you know, awesome control, awesome stories, awesome level design, which a lot of people never even fucking bring up about these games. You know, cool-ass characters, just really good platforming games. Another platforming game, which I think that a lot of people end up forgetting about, always bums me out, but it's worth noting is Klonoa 2. Check out Klonoa 2, trust me, it's very, very good, especially if you're a big fan of the original or the remake on Nintendo Wii, like I am, or the Game Boy Advance games. So, there you go. Next up is one of my favorite tactical strategy type RPGs, and got me hooked on the series in general, and that's Disgaea Hour of Darkness. The original one was put out by Atlas, which got my attention alone because anytime there's an Atlas game, I have to go and pick it up. But this right here, Laharl, Flan, Etna, it's kind of hard to see, but I've got Etna and Flan right there because I'd gotten the special edition of Disgaea Dia 2 when it came out. I did an unboxing of that if you ever get a chance to check that out. But this was the start of it. I still consider this the best of the entire series. Many people can go and argue that, but this is my favorite entry within the Disgaea series. We're now going on to Disgaea 5 for PlayStation 4. How time flies. Disgaea 4 would probably be my second favorite of the entire series, but this one is the OG, the fucking original, and it's not just relegated to PlayStation 2. As a matter of fact, they had put it onto PlayStation Portable on the PSP and onto the Nintendo DS. So if you ever get the chance, you gotta go and check it out. It's really good. They basically took the Final Fantasy Tactics / Tactics Ogre style combat system, and then just went ape shit with it. You know, you got the item world, you've got the council you have to go in front of to go and get things passed. You have all these different class types. You can go up to level 9,999, all these extra endings. So playing through over and over again was worth it, and it's just a lot of fun, really good voice acting. If you're into anime, it's good. If you're into anime, you should also check out the Disgaea anime, because that one kicks a ton of ass and is worth noting. Game that I put in way too much time on and is my second favorite, and sometimes I feel could possibly be my all-time favorite entry within the series, is Twisted Metal Black. Here, let's try to get that right there. So, okay, Twisted Metal Black is the most evil entry, darkest entry, and mature entry within the Twisted Metal franchise, and it's all about car combat. You know, the minute that I got to see anything, any footage from this, I was sold on it. You know, I love the shit out of Twisted Metal 1, Twisted Metal 2. 3 and 4 were not that good, but this one made up for it because they got the original team back and got to work on it, and it shows because this game is fantastic. They took all the storylines, and it wasn't, you know, live action how they did with Twisted Metal 1. It wasn't the comic book styling how they did with Twisted Metal 2 and all that. They had CG cutscenes that were just gritty as fuck and violent and shit, and it worked really well. It was kind of like the Twilight Zone in a lot of ways, because Calypso would go and, like, yeah, I'll totally give you something, and then there's a twist and somebody gets fucked over. Granted, it's not like that every single time, but very good. The stage designs on it, that was the major thing that I loved the most about this, was the stages got so much better. Whenever you're going through the one neighborhood, and you can go and fuck up that big Ferris wheel, and it just goes tearing through town, and you can drive through a little supermarket / mini mall, whatever the fuck it is, and tear up the entire city. You know, and there were secrets hidden around everywhere. The other area where you can go and shoot down to one airplane, and when it crashes, it opens up an entire new section, and you can go inside there. The first time I got to be Sweet Tooth and transform into the big-ass robot, and it looked cool as fuck, and you're just shooting a big barrage of missiles. And Sweet Tooth, my favorite character to go and play as in this game. He doesn't handle the best, but he's a fucking beast, I'm telling you. So damn good, but there's just, I love the hell out of this game. It's just a lot of fun. It's still a lot of fun right now. This is something I would like to see in an HD remaster. I would like the series to come back to proper form, because I was not a fan of the last Twisted Metal game that they did. If it could be more like this, that'd be fucking rockin' shit. But, yeah, we got this game at least. One of the most important games on the PlayStation 2, in my humble opinion, is this right here. Devil May fucking Cry. Devil May Cry, I mean, this right here was going to be a Resident Evil game. And I said, nah, that shit's a little bit too different. So it became its own intellectual property that went on to become one of the best franchises. As a matter of fact, we're getting an HD version of Devil May Cry 4 on Xbox 360 and PlayStation 4, and I can't wait for that. But this was the start of the series, and it still has a lot of Resident Evil style shit going along with it. It's one of the best entries in the entire series. This and 3, I always consider bar none one of the best. As a matter of fact, I would consider Part 3 to be in this pile, but I want to go with Part 1, because, you know, naturally it was the very first one that I got to play. But it gave you such a badass character to play as, in tight as fuck, combo-driven, crazy, frantic control. You know, you're using your devil trigger, going around fucking shit up. Some of the bosses are gigantic, and you're jumping around on top of them, you know, learning new moves, getting new weapons, switching between them on the fly, and you just felt like such a badass. And, you know, and Dante is fucking cool. You know, there's no fucking way around it. Dante is cool. That's what he was meant to be from the start, and he really is. So, Devil May Cry, if you've not played the original, get the HD collection that's on PS3. If you don't feel like doing that, pick up the original. If you don't feel like doing that, then what the fuck? You're missing out! You gotta play it. It's so damn good. A new survival horror franchise that started up on PlayStation 2 soon made its way over to Xbox, but the first entries that I got to play were on PlayStation 2, and that's Fatal Frame. I also would like to say Fatal Frame 2, because that's my favorite entry in the series, but I use this one because it's, again, the very first one I got to play. But this one was supposed to be based around a true story. That's kind of what made it a little bit scarier for a lot of people. But this wasn't, here, you're gonna go in like fucking gangbusters with rocket launchers and machine guns, assault rifles, grenades, and all sorts of other stuff. You don't have a big team with you. You're just one chick with a fucking camera. And for a sec, you have to think, wait. I'm a chick in a haunted house with a camera. That sounds fucking stupid. And it does sound really stupid until you see the game motion. Then you're like, holy shit. To begin with, just I'll help this way, but graphically, this game, and I'll make a big deal about graphics, but this was leaps and bounds above a lot of stuff that came out at the time, like a shit ton. But the gameplay it's slow and methodical, and the ghosts and shit, like you have to level up your camera and you have to time your shots and try to damage them and kill them. And it's kind of got RPG mechanics to a certain extent, because you get experience points that you use towards going and upgrading the camera and abilities that you have. And then when you're running around, one of the scariest aspects of it is the ghosts that aren't even coming after you. It's just the ones that walk by and will startle the shit out of you. There's a lot of fucking jump scares in this, but the atmosphere is creepy as shit, and you're by yourself. You know, you don't have anybody holding your hand or watching your back. There is no co-op, nothing like that. It's just a mindfuck experience and very, very creepy. So the Fatal Frame games, played them, especially the second one. That one just, oh man, that fucked my head up so damn bad. A good game though. Playing that, I had people screaming in the room while I was playing it, so that should say something when people who aren't even playing are scared shitless. Another series that started up on the PlayStation 2 that I loved a whole bunch and still do to this day, I need to do a Let's Play of it. If you agree, then please say so, maybe? I don't know. But Katamari Damacy! The Katamari games. Very first Katamari game. I like goofy, oddball, no fucks given types of games, and the Katamari games are definitely up there with the best of the best. The soundtrack is out of control, random as shit, very Japanese. If you are not into Japanese games, this is very fucking Japanese. But if you ever want to play a game that you feel that, man, I want to play something that'd be really fun if I was fucked up on a whole bunch of hallucinogenic drugs. Katamari! Fucking perfect! And all the entries in the series are very, very good. The only one I don't really like all that much is Me and My Katamari on PSP, and that's only because the control scheme is real weird, because there isn't 2 analog sticks. But this, it's just fun as fuck. Simple premise, you got a ball, collect shit. That's it! Do it before the timer runs out. And you would think that that would get boring, but it doesn't. Just the amount of stuff that you see throughout in all the stages, there's tons of hidden items, and there's just lots of goofy little details, and then you're the prince. Kind of hard to, well, actually he's not on there. There he is. You're the prince, okay? That is your dad, the Liberace looking motherfucker right there. So he's the king of the cosmos, basically God, and he's always just bitching you out. And was like, go and collect shit, make it amazing, and then you never can live up to his standards. But it's, I don't know, it's kind of amusing in a really fucked up random ass way. But this game is just, it's like drugs. This game is drugs. Put onto a disc that you have to interact with, and it's a lot of fun. I love it a whole bunch. There are so many entries in the series now, it's fucking insane, but all of them are worth going and checking out to some degree, so you should. Now, I know that this series didn't start up on PlayStation 2, but the first time I got to experience it, which we still are today, and as a matter of fact, we got to get Hyrule Warriors, and we're getting Dragon Quest Heroes because of it. You already know what I'm talking about. Motherfucking Dynasty Warriors! I don't actually own Dynasty Warriors 2. As a matter of fact, I'm missing quite a few entries on Dynasty Warriors games, but this was my favorite entry on PlayStation 2. And it was Dynasty Warriors 3. And there isn't a big change between a lot of the games. Just, you know, more characters, or they'll change, you know, something here and something there. But it's still essentially the same. Go out there and kill hordes of enemies. That's it. And you just go out there and you do it. And it's kind of a mindless game, but it's one of those mindless fun games. The voice acting is ridiculously over the top and fucking garbage, but it's so B-movie worthy that you have to enjoy it on a comedic level, at least. But I like it a whole bunch. It's one of those things that, let's see if I can find, I never know how to say his name. Dude with the eye patch. It's like Zhao Shu. I always fucking forget his name, but anyway, that's the character I typically end up picking, but... And then there's just so many badass characters. Lu Bu! Lu Bu, bitches! But if you played Hyrule Warriors and you never played a Dynasty Warriors game, then you know why I make a big deal about this. They're just, I don't know, they're fun games. You know, you can actually run around with a buddy and kill a bunch of enemies, and I like that idea a whole bunch, and that happened quite a few times while I've had these games. And it's weird because it started off as a fighting game on PS1, and then turned into this. That's a hell of a transition between, it's like, holy fuck, fighting game to that? But then again, you know, look at, you know, Final Fight. Final Fight was technically supposed to be Street Fighter 89, you know, and that's just, oh, kind of cool. But yeah, Dynasty Warriors, for just hack and slash, kill a bunch of stuff because it's a lot of fun gameplay, yeah, you can't actually do any better. Well, you could. Newer Dynasty Warriors or Samurai Warriors, there you go. A series that originally was going to start up on PlayStation 1 and originally started as a Resident Evil game. Kind of weird. Devil May Cry started off as a Resident Evil game, turned to its own IP. This game started off as a Resident Evil game, then turned into its own game, and then went on to the PlayStation 2 instead, and that's Onimusha. Onimusha is so fucking cool. You've got... You're in fucking feudal Japan, okay? And you're running around killing a whole bunch of undead, absorbing souls and shit. That sounds badass to me. You got all these different traps and shit that you have to avoid, and it feels like a Resident Evil game in a lot of ways. The very first entry, but once they move past that and you start playing Onimusha 2, 3, and all the other entries in it, and why the fuck have we not gotten an HD collection of these yet? Capcom. Easy money would make a lot of people happy, because not all the Onimushas are all that easy to find, by the way. But, and don't include Blade Warriors, just fucking don't. It's like, I want to be Smash Brothers, but I'm not. But Onimusha, really fucking kick-ass series. I like the entire vibe of it. It's really good. We can even read on the back here. In a world of darkness and magic, power-hungry warlords battle one another for control of feudal Japan. Yeah, that's what I was saying. At the height of the chaos, a noble princess, I cannot pronounce that name, is kidnapped. Now one lone swordsman, Samanosuke, boldly volunteers to rescue and avenge the princess, but in these dark and mysterious times, even Samanosuke does not realize the desperation of his mission. An entire legion of demon warriors stands between him, the princess, and triumph. Dun dun dun! But yeah, it's a really fun-ass series. I say pick it up if you have not tried it out. All the entries in the series are really good in my opinion, except for Blade Warriors, like I already said. So, there. Now, another survival horror game, but my all-time favorite entry in the series... Aw, yeah. It's Silent fucking Hill. And on the back, the silence is broken. Here. James Sunderland's life is shattered when his young wife Mary suffers a tragic death. 3 years later, a mysterious letter arrives from Mary, beckoning him to return to their sanctuary of memories, the dark realm of Silent Hill. This game is fucked up, and everything that you know and love about the Silent Hill series pretty much can be pointed right back to this. To this entry right here, this is where a lot of shit started. A lot of the mainstays within the series all began around here. I love the first game a whole bunch. I consider that to be the second best entry in the series, but this one is easily the best. Multiple endings, absolute fucking screwed up psychological horror game, because that's what this really should be considered. They took all the elements that made the original special and then took advantage of the beefier hardware and ran with it. I liked all the cutscenes. They looked fucking off and kind of scary and creepy, if anybody understands what I mean. They looked very realistic, but they looked just fucked up. I can't even explain it, but everywhere that you're going just looks so much more graphic, looks so much creepier. The music is so much more fucked up. It's everything that a sequel should strive to be. Take everything that made the original special, run with it, build upon it. Silent Hill did that. I mean, fucking Pyramid Head shows up in this entry, and they're one of the major reasons why I liked a lot of the earlier entries within Silent Hill, because of Team Silent, was they were smart enough to create a world, and all the enemies, all the locations, all the fucked up stuff that's happening is based around that character. You know, they aren't just gimmicks or some goofy shit. They are direct representations of all the fragmented, fucked up things about that person's mind. And that's what they're dealing with. Silent Hill is basically like the worst place to be if you're emotionally distressed, because it takes full advantage of it and you've got to live it through. And this is the best example of it. So, play Silent Hill 2, it's fucking awesome, the HD collection is fucked up. Thanks, Konami! If after the internet isn't around for our old systems and nobody gets a fucking patch for that game, you got a broken-ass game. How the hell do you fuck that up? It makes no damn sense. Alright. The Shin Megami Tensei series, I love a whole bunch. The Revelation series, I love a whole bunch. The Persona series, I love a whole bunch. My favorite entry in it? Persona fucking 4. Persona! Okay, so for a lot of people, Persona 3 was kind of their first entry. That's when the series really blew up. My first entry was 2. So Eternal Punishment, I love the shit out of that. That's my second favorite entry in the series. But Persona 4, I always say get Persona 4 Golden on Vita if you're truly going to experience the game. But the first time I got to play through it, I put in all my hours happily and lovingly into this entry right here. You have to go and solve a murder that, well, actually multiple murders, and nobody knows how they're happening. So you and the rest of your friends in school, because you're a new kid on the block, are trying to go and figure out how these murders are happening. You find out there's like this alternate dimension, and you're going into this alternate dimension, which is the TV world, and a bunch of fucked up stuff starts happening there. You find out that there's a link between that and the real world and the murders, and you're trying to go and track it down. All the while, everybody's kind of facing themselves. And I find it to be an interesting game because they have all the social links, so you actually get to choose and pick what you're going to say between everybody, develop your relationship between all these random ass characters, some of the main characters, and then you get to see them kind of bloom in a lot of ways because they start off one way and then you get to see all these different sides to them. And it's just a really good game when it comes to character development, and one of the major reasons why I like it. So if you like turn-based RPGs, you like games that are heavy on storylines and stuff, this is definitely there. I love the battle themes from this, by the way. They're fucking amazing. I'm not a big fan of all the music in it, but I do like the battle themes. They kick a lot of ass. But multiple endings, play the Vita version. Trust me on that, it's very good, worth it. I'm hoping that eventually they just port the Vita version to like some HD version and put on like PS4 and Xbox One and all that shit on Wii U. Wii U deserves some Persona love, by the way, outside of the handhelds. But yeah, Persona 4, it's a must. Now, originally I had played this on GameCube, and I preferred this version on the PlayStation 2. And it was one of the better entries within the series, Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 was a big turn for the series. We had Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, and Code Veronica, and each of those was pretty much sticking to the basic formula of how Resident Evil is, with fixed camera angles, a limited amount of ammunition, and this opened it up into a over-the-shoulder action game, which everybody knows about. It has played the living fuck out of. I don't have to explain a whole bunch about Resident Evil 4, but this was a great game. I can't really necessarily say the same thing about the 5th and 6th entries, but this one I did like a whole bunch. It's a fun-ass game. It really is, and it was originally going to be exclusive for GameCube, and then they ended up adding more into this version, and I think it turned out to be a better game because of that. As a matter of fact, what's kind of crazy is this isn't my all-time favorite version of it. I actually prefer the Wii version. I'm way better at pulling off headshots on there. I'm like, bam, 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 bam! Everything's just fucking going down like nobody's business. But this right here, you end up getting scared for your fucking life because you're trying to get away from these enemies and escape them. Fucking chainsaw dude with his fucking Mr. Potato Head sack is trying to go and take your head off and shit. You get to see this entire cult. You're like, what the fuck? That Napoleon dude that's all fucking creepy and shit. And just, holy fuck. Whenever you're housed up in that one building with, I forgot that fucking one dude's name, but he looks like Johnny Depp and shit. But you're inside that house, and all the enemies are trying to come in. It reminds me of Night of the Living Dead. That shit is fucking scary. But this right here foregoed a lot of the traditional shit that we got used to within Resident Evil, but still made for a great survival horror game. You know, it was action-packed, it had tons of jump scares, and your adrenaline pumping the entire time. It was just absolutely fantastic. For some fans of Resident Evil, you know, this was the beginning of the end of survival horror because it changed so many things. And a lot of other people were embracing and enjoying the change. I was one of the people that enjoyed it, though it doesn't seem like they were capable of capitalizing off of this kind of change much after that, because as we got to see, history, you know, is kind of a testament to that. Either way, this entry is fantastic, and one of the best reasons why you could have owned a PlayStation 2 back in the day. My very first entry into my all-time favorite fighting game series, still to this day, and I still love this entry a whole bunch. Not for just nostalgic purposes, it's just a flat-out fantastic game. You can also find on the Dreamcast. Guilty Gear X2. I played Guilty Gear X, Guilty Gear X. X2 is sitting over there. My very first entry is Guilty Gear X. My favorite, all-time favorite version of it is Guilty Gear X2, though. But this entry right here was the first time that I got to see it, and it was mainly because I'd looked on the back, and this shit looked like a real living, breathing anime come to life that you were controlling, and most people were trying to do everything 3D. So you weren't seeing 2D being capitalized upon within the newest hardware. And I thought that was a shame, especially when it could turn out like this. And Arc System Works knocked out of the fucking park. I went back and played the first game, and I liked that a whole bunch. But this right here, this is my shit. You know, Soul Bad Guy was the very first character that I played as, and just with all other fighting games, he's the character that I continue to play as the most. But, you know, I got to learn how to play as Kai, I got to learn how to play as Milia. You know, those characters I all became pretty damn good with. You know, Chip, I'm okay with. I can actually play as Chip. I'm not super great as him. But I have so many memories of me and my best friends playing this. This was something that, you know, the apartments that we had rented and stuff, and we all lived together in, we had played these games so many damn times, we got blisters on our thumbs. As a matter of fact, it's kind of hard to tell, but you won't really be able to see it because it's pretty much healed over. But I was playing the newest Guilty Gear that came out for PlayStation 4 and stuff, playing the shit out of that, and got a big-ass blister on my thumb. I was like, that's a good feeling. If you're not getting blisters on your thumb whenever you're playing a 2D fighting game, on an actual D-pad, not talking about arcade stick, but on an actual D-pad, you are not playing them right. I'm telling you. Unless you have a super callous thumb, that shit's like fucking raw steel. Mine's not. But Guilty Gear X, it's fucking fantastic. Some of the best music you'll ever experience in a game. One of the most metal video games that you'll ever experience. The entire franchise is good. There's not a bad entry. As long as we're sticking with the fighting games, I really did not like the one on Xbox 360, was Guilty Gear X, or Guilty Gear 2. And not very good. It just, Guilty Gear Judgment's good though. Nice little beat 'em up. I did like that. Diversion from the series, but still good. But yeah, this was my first foray into it. And Kingdom Hearts, a game that I doubted. I fucking doubted the shit out of this game. I was like, there is no fucking way. Oh, Disney and Final Fantasy, that shit's not gonna work. They're gonna water down my fucking Final Fantasy franchise. That's what I kept on saying. Then I played it and I shut the fuck up. I shut the fuck up for good, and it kills me. I don't have the poster for this. I used to have a big-ass promotional poster for it. It was fucking huge. But I got it from Funkoland. Remember Funkoland, everyone? But I got it from there, and I just enjoyed the living fuck out of this game. I was like, holy shit. I put in so many hours on this game. It was roughly about 80 or so, between 80 to 90 hours that I put in on this. You know, running around as Sora, experiencing all these different worlds, seeing the Final Fantasy characters meshed in with the Disney characters, and you're like, holy shit, and it's a little action and adventure platforming type RPG. You know, I'm so accustomed to playing turn-based games, then I get to play this, and you're just running around, swinging your little fucking keyblade, beating a shit out of everything, going and fighting the bosses, and then you got Donald and Goofy running around with you. You're leveling up, they're learning new skills, you're busting out fucking summons of big-time Disney characters coming out, helping you in the middle of battle. It's insanity. Then getting to fight fucking Cloud and Sephiroth? The Platinum match. I'm like, what's a Platinum match? I'll fight this, and Sephiroth comes out, and I'm like, ugh! And he bulldozed the fuck over me. I was level like 47 at the time. So in no way was I able to fucking even go toe-to-toe with him, but I like this game a bunch. It's very good. This is my favorite entry in the series. Everybody says that Kingdom Hearts 2 is my favorite. Call me weird. This one's my favorite. I like it a whole bunch. Maybe it's just because I had doubted it so much and it proved me wrong, and I enjoyed the shit out of it. And Square Enix, please hurry up Kingdom Hearts 3. Jesus fucking Christ. Our throats are dry from screaming and yelling about wanting this game. But I am looking forward to Type 0 and Final Fantasy 15, so there's always that. Huzzah! Anyway, so yeah, there you go. So many other games that I can mention. Like I said, I've got a bunch over there. It's just, there's too many to mention. But 15 years of cataloged history of a storied system that is one of the best. One of the best systems in all of gaming, you know, and I know that it's opinions and shit like that, but for me, it's one of the best systems that I ever got to have my hands on, and I am just fucking thankful that I got to experience all that right as, you know, it was blowing up. I still remember some of the first games that came out, like Tekken Tag Tournament, Fantavision, and I still remember first getting to play Ridge Racer 5 and playing the shit out of stages on SSX. First time I got to play Tony Hawk 3, the first time I got to play Shadow Hearts. It's just so many games. There's too fucking many, trust me, there's a lot. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and eventually I have to do more PlayStation 2 videos, just talking about games that are awesome and shit, or games that kick ass, or, you know, whatever. Maybe I'll turn it into a series, I have no clue. Anyway, this is AlphaOmegaSin, as always, nerds, nerdettes, and gamers, game the fuck on. And happy birthday, PlayStation 2.